Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl.
Superhuman Radio. Today's a very special show. I'm having a guest back that hasn't been on the show in quite a while, and but the reason isn't the greatest reason, but there's a silver lining to the story that I want people to get out of this, and it's actually near and dear to my heart, no pun intended, and I'll explain why when we get deeper into the interview with Eric Brosa in just a second. Of course, I have to acknowledge our title sponsor, All-American Pharmaceutical and EFX Sports. You can get 5 of their top-selling products. Is it 6? It's 6 of their top-selling products, I'm sorry, absolutely free. When you go to superhumanradio.net and click the EFX Sports banner ad, put in your name and address, and pay $5 in shipping, and that's legitimately the shipping charge, because Dr. Jeff Galini believes that no one should buy anything until they've tried it first, and he puts his money where his mouth is. And there are great products there. If you've never used any of EFX Sports products, what are you waiting for? I mean, people who use them love them. You'll find out why, and it won't cost you a ton of money. Eric Brosa, welcome back to the show. How you doing, man?
I'm glad to say that I'm doing pretty well, Carl.
Yeah, it was scary there. So I don't want to go back over how did you find physical culture. We did that, you and I, years ago. Probably, I want to say maybe 6 years ago or so. You're well known within the physical culture community as both an amazing athlete, a career drug-free athlete, and not only that, but you've earned the nickname Merlin because you seem to have a magical effect on the people you train in getting them to literally completely change who they are. And so this story we're going to tell today is even more poignant because when I talked about having you on the show, I actually got emails from people going, it has to be drugs. And I'm like, no, Eric, if you look at his physique, it's a very sustainable physique. He doesn't have monstrous amounts of muscle mass that would require drugs in order to maintain. But it's almost like if a 40-year-old fat guy falls down and has a heart attack, or even a 40-year-old normal-shaped guy has a heart attack, no one says it's drugs. But as soon as somebody who looks physically fit has a heart attack, it immediately becomes drugs. I'm sure you've heard this, right, since this has happened, right?
I've heard this quite a bit, yeah. So, and I expected it as well.
It's insulting, but isn't it insulting? Like, why when it's almost like fit people can't have heart attacks?
Yeah, I just think that it's a misnomer out there that people think that if you look a certain way or if you exercise all the time or eat right, that it's impossible to have a heart attack, but they're forgetting one of the most major contributors to any disease or any condition, and that's genetics.
Right.
So,
and that really is, and we're going to get into that in a second. But the takeaway of today's discussion, and I think that this is something if you listen to the beginning of my story 20 years ago, why I started working out in the first place with weights was to remodel my heart, because I understood that pathological changes to the heart, which happen when you sit on the sofa all day long and eat pizza, versus physiological changes, which is what happens when you undergo years of heavy lifting, are very different. The pump becomes stronger. Would you agree with that statement?
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about it that there's a huge difference between the way the heart acts as a sedentary person versus somebody who is, intensely exercising. So there's no doubt about it.
So talk about the event. When did you have your ischemic cardiac event?
It actually happened on Labor Day was when it started, and it literally carried over to the following day.
Right.
So it
and I want to mention something that had your heart not been as strong as it is, from the decades of heavy lifting and cardiovascular training you've done, there would have been no next day for you.
No, the doctors were actually in somewhat of a shock that I lasted as long as I did. And, my heart attack actually was so massive that they felt that most people probably, if they weren't in the ER within the hour, they would have been gone. So the fact that I had lasted literally 20 hours having this massive coronary was absolutely extraordinary to them. And they were of the firm belief that the only reason why I survived it, believe it or not, without heart damage, was because of my physical fitness and due to my training, my diet, and everything else that I do in my lifestyle.
Now, think about this for a second, folks that are listening to this show. And maybe some of you have tuned in for the first time because you saw the headline of today's show, How to Survive a Heart Attack, and you know that you may have one in your future or you've had one before and you're scared of having another one. One of the worst things that doctors do to cardiac patients is tell them to sit around and don't do much of anything. And this is actually the worst thing that you can do for your heart. The reason your heart is in bad shape today is because of your lack of activity. And then you have an event and the doctor says, no, you have to become even less active. Now they want you to just lay around. This is I tell you this, and of course I don't want people to go, okay, I just had a heart attack 2 weeks ago, I'm going to start lifting weights. No, you got to crawl before you walk. And maybe if you're challenged cardiovascularly, maybe just standing during the TV commercials is the first step for you before you actually start walking long distances. But make no bones a mistake, folks, that if you don't want to have a heart attack, start using your heart more. That's the answer. But anyway, so talk about Labor Day. So Labor Day, what happens? Do you have a pain in your chest, numbness in your hands, all the traditional symptoms, or not even any of those?
Well, that's the interesting thing. I have, the blockage that I had, which was 100% in one of my arteries, 90% in another, and then partial blockage in another, is not something that happens overnight. It's something that happens over what I was told 20 to 30 years. It could take that long to get that blockage. The amazing thing is there has never been a symptom in my entire life. I've been obviously training with this blockage at full force for a long time now and never feeling the effects of it. So, quite literally that day, it was just a very normal day. I actually didn't go to the gym that day, took the day off, did my normal, errands and everything else. And then it was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon that I decided I wanted to lay down and get a little extra rest before I went back and worked with my clients in the evening. And I laid down for about an hour, and I woke up to my alarm with the massive amount of pains in my chest and my throat. And that's all that I felt. I felt sort of like everything was closing up inside. Mm-hmm. And I didn't feel any pain in my left arm or anything like that. Just right in the middle of my chest, it felt to me like somebody was squeezing my heart, squeezing my lungs, squeezing my throat. And that's the way I woke up, out of a nice calm nap. So it was kind of a...
Now, but Eric, why don't you go right to the hospital and go, I got to check this out?
Well, this is the thing, and I'm going to be perfectly honest here, and this is a point that I want to get across. I am like the anti-doctor man.
Yeah.
Like I don't go to doctors. If I get sick, I cure myself, and I very rarely get sick. I get a headache. I'm the last person to take aspirin. I'm just really, really bad when it comes to all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I've always been so physically fit. I've always never worried about my health. I always felt that I had it beat. Don't want to go to doctors. Don't like doctors. I've never had surgery in my life. I've never been in a hospital for myself. All these things. So I was very, very stubborn. And to be truthful, I didn't think I'm having a heart attack. I figured, there's something wrong with me. I have, maybe I ate something that I have food poisoning going on, or maybe I have a gas bubble in my chest, or maybe, something that's going to go away.
Right.
That's what I figured.
So here's a question that I want to ask you. I've been told if you have a pain in your chest that you can make it go away by belching, by stretching, by doing some sort of mechanical maneuver. It's not a heart attack, because a heart attack, you cannot make that pain go away by doing any type of mechanical maneuvers of stretching or something. Did you attempt to stretch it out? Like, let me see if I can, get my thorax spread out and make this go away. Did you try to do that?
I didn't try to stretch. I mean, I definitely was trying to drink some soda, so I thought maybe if I had a gas bubble I could belch, it would come out.
Right.
I was at certain points. See, it came in waves for me. There was several waves during the heart attack where I was knocked on my back completely and actually felt myself passing away. I mean, that's, I don't know if you want to talk about that, but
no, I do.
There was other times where I was literally just pacing around my apartment, back and forth, because I couldn't sit still. So I was just trying to find a way to get myself comfortable and get myself through it. I knew that whatever I had, I was going to have to suffer with, whether it was food poisoning or gas bubble or just whatever, anaphylactic shock. I thought maybe I ate something that caused, anaphylactic shock.
Right.
Something like that. And I just said, I have to get myself through this. I've been through horrible things before. I'll get through this. And that's the way it was. So it really was, and in the end, it was almost 20 hours of doing this whole act that I was doing before my friend finally grabbed me and took me to the ER. But it was 20 long hours. So
talk about the fading away that you just mentioned a second ago.
This is the hardest part of this whole thing for me, and the thing that's been most psychologically damaging to me, and that I've been trying to wrap my head around. I know there was 3 different times during this episode that it got so bad that I lost control of I just had to fall on the floor. It happened once in my bedroom, once in the bathroom, once in my living area.
So when you say you had to fall on the floor, did you lose muscular strength? Did you start to when you're going to syncope, you're going to pass out, or did you just become so consumed by the pain that you just wanted to lay down and hit the ground?
No, it was not passing out. It was not lack of air. It was being so consumed by the pain that I literally had no choice but to go onto the ground.
Right, I got you.
It was as if I was being forced on the ground by an outside force, but obviously it was in my body. So. So during these times, and I didn't remember this, Carl, until after I was in the hospital and out of surgery and my mind was going over everything again. I think I kind of blocked it out.
Right.
That there was these 3 occasions, and they were all very similar, that I was laying on the ground and I was in so much pain that I don't really think it's describable with words unless you actually go through it. And I was in just so much distress that I started to, I guess my body obviously was, maybe lacking oxygen, maybe lacking, proper blood supply, whatever was going on during the heart attack, that I was beginning to kind of let go. I was beginning to fade away. And, somebody might say, oh, you were fainting. No, I wasn't fainting. I fainted before. I've passed out before. Oh, maybe you were falling asleep. No, I was definitely not falling
you were
asleep.
Actually succumbing to it. You were given.
I was succumbing to it.
I had this exact experience in Bosnia. I was swimming in the ocean. I had been drinking, and I had been swimming and I wasn't paying attention to how far away from the shoreline I had gotten. And then when I stopped swimming and I turned around and looked how far away I was, I kind of panicked. And so I tried to swim. I started to swim back, but I was nervous now. I was panicked. And I vomited. And as I vomited, I went under. And then I took in a breath of water. And this happened a couple times. And I remember at one point in time, I had this feeling like I can't win this. I may as well just let it happen. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's just like it's this recognition, this realization that this is it. I can't do this. I'm going to die. And it's a peaceful feeling, too. It's not like you're fighting against it. You actually have lost all the fight. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
that's very, very close to what I'm talking about, because, you know, as I felt myself fading away, I felt everything going black, and not just black like the lights going out, but like black within my mind.
Right.
And I felt my thoughts becoming, you know, very disjointed and not, you know, just like regular thoughts. I started to, I don't know, almost like sort of see things. I started to just have that feeling of, yes, I can't fight this.
Right.
It's too painful. If I am going away, let me just do it, because that'll be the salvation from this pain that I'm in. And I felt it happening. And as I was getting closer and closer to the point where maybe I was going to lose consciousness or go into the first phase of dying or whatever it was just that little bit of my mind telling me you can't do this that pulled me out of it. And it was just a very, very, almost like an inner voice saying to me, no, it's not time to let go. Do not do this.
Wow.
And I felt, and it happened, it's unbelievable that it happened 3 times, but it happened each time almost exactly the same way. And that same inner voice was what told me, you must fight this. And I started to force myself to think about, you know, my family, my girlfriend, my dogs, my friends, my work, my life. You know, I forced myself to actually have thoughts that I had to focus on. And I started to use the same type of, I know it might sound strange to people, but it's the same type of inner strength that I use while I'm training. Because when I'm training, the way that I train, I do very, very long, drawn-out sets where there's a lot of pain, a lot of breathing. You have to have a lot of mental and physical focus and stamina to get through the way that I train. And I try to draw upon that same type of strength to bring me out of this and bring me back to the fight. And that's what I did. And, you know, there were tears coming out of my eyes, I remember. There was just a complete emotional cascade that came over me as I was coming out of this, because I knew that if I allowed myself to come out of it, I was going to have to face it again, and that was the scariest.
Yeah,
part.
right. That this is going to happen again. Yeah, I mean, like moments from now, I'm going to have to fight this fight again.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's amazing. Now, did these events that you're describing now, these happened in the hospital? The fight?
No, they happened at home. No, they happened at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so then your friend says to you, "Come on, you got to go to the hospital." And we're going to.
Well, what happened?
Wait. Here's what we're going to do. I want to take a break.
Sure.
And when we come back, I want to pick it up on the decision to actually go to the hospital. This is a gut-wrenching story, but it's an important story, because while the takeaway from this story is, no matter how sick you are, no matter where you are in your life right now, training can help you stay alive. Really, that is the bottom line. And we're going to come back and we're going to pick it up on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Superhuman Radio. We're talking with Eric Brozer. Eric, real quick, I know you're launching a new fitness program too. Why don't you plug that before we get back into the discussion?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've been training clients online globally for a long time now. And basically, I think what you're referring to is that I'm going to offer a special starting tomorrow on all of my different services. And obviously, I train people who are relative beginners all the way up through professional athletes, professional bodybuilders. And like I said, I train them online globally. So, and I also offer Skype consultations. I have a couple of ebooks, DVD, and those things. And I've had such tremendous, incredible support from everybody on Facebook and Instagram throughout this whole thing. Just such well wishes and positive messages and support and encouragement. I just want to give back a little bit, so I'm going to be offering a special tomorrow on my services, which if somebody takes advantage of it, a new client, it's going to be lifetime for them. So I'll be putting that out tomorrow on Facebook and Instagram. And like I said, I just want to show my appreciation for everything that people have been saying and doing for me.
Okay.
And that's pretty much what it's going to be. And so everybody will see it on Facebook and Instagram tomorrow on Friday, and that'll be that.
Okay, so now let's move into the second stage of this. So this has now been a day has passed, and you've been struggling against this pain and succumbing to it from time to time, and now you must know something is really wrong, and your friend says we have to go to the ER.
Well, what happens is that the next morning, my girlfriend.
I can't even believe you went to sleep. I would have been afraid of dying. Oh, okay.
No, Carl.
Okay.
I didn't sleep.
Okay.
I went through the whole night pacing my apartment, and I did start throwing up. I did start vomiting.
Do you think part of it was denial? Do you think part of it was I just don't want to believe I'm having a heart attack?
I think that there was a part of me that was finally getting. I wasn't ever thinking heart attack until the next morning when my girlfriend texted me and said, how you feeling? And I started telling her all my different symptoms. She said, babe, she's like, you need to go to the ER. You could possibly be having a heart attack. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, not me.
Me having a heart attack? I'm not having a heart attack. I'm just very, very sick. I have food poisoning. I've been throwing up all night. My body's getting rid of it. All this kind of stuff. Whatever excuse. But there was a small part of me in my mind that's going, man, what's wrong with me? Like, I am really sick. Like, this is just, I've never felt anything like this in my entire life. And she basically said to me, I really want you to go to the doctor. But she knows me, and she knew that I wasn't going to do it. So she basically went behind my back, which, when I say going behind my back, it's the most beautiful thing she could possibly do. And she called one of my closest friends in the world, Dave Borlay, who lives about an hour away, and said to him, Dave, there's something wrong with Eric. He's trying to downplay it. I think that there's something severely wrong with him. I think he could possibly be having a heart attack. Would you please drive over his place and force him to go to the doctor? And because my girlfriend lives a couple hours away and she was at work, and he said, oh my God, seriously. So, he's such a great guy, he's like, okay. So he drove over. It took, a few hours for all this to take place. He came over in the afternoon, and he said, Eric, let me just take you to the ER, let's just get you checked out. I'm sure it's nothing. And he didn't believe it was anything either. He just thought it was going to be something simple, give him a pill, he's fine. Right. He's like, but why don't you just go? He goes, trust me, I'm the same way. I wouldn't want to go. I know it's annoying, doctors, hospitals, whatever. He was like, but let's just make your girlfriend feel better. You'll feel better. I'll feel better. And I really tried to talk him out of it. I'm like, I'm feeling a little bit better. Like, because I was in one of those waves where it was a lot of pain, but I was able to mask it and deal with it. And I was trying to argue with him, and he said, come on, let's just go. So finally, I think I finally just relented and said, okay, fine, let's just go. And so he took me to the emergency room, which was, very short drive from my house. We went in. He was doing all the talking for me. He said, told him what symptoms I was having. And there was probably 15 people in the waiting room in front of me. They took me and put me in front of everybody. I guess the symptoms that I gave were hard.
Well, do you remember what they did? I'm sure they triaged you, right? They checked your blood pressure, your pulse, and all that sort of stuff, right?
Well, they brought me right into the back, and they, into the back room. They put me on a table. They took my blood pressure, but within seconds they were doing an EKG on me, and this is when I got really nervous because I'm like, oh, they are checking my heart. They are nervous. This is a heart attack. So, and they were asking me what my symptoms were. And even at that point, I think I was almost, trying to say, well, I feel like I have indigestion. Like I in my head, I'm trying to like almost talk the doctors out of there being anything wrong with me.
Right. And
right when I saw the nurse or whoever reads the EKG looking down at the readings, I saw her shake her head. And she shaked her head in a way which I knew was something bad. And she looked over at the doctor that was in there and I guess pointed to him or showed him whatever. And it was almost like it's almost like I was standing in front of a tidal wave that was about to hit me, and I was just looking at the tidal wave and I was waiting.
Right.
And he turned around to me and he said, Mr. Brozer, you are currently having a massive coronary. And as soon as he said that to me, I burst into tears. I just was like in shock, and I started crying, and I couldn't believe that it was actually happening. And they started medicating me with all kinds of the morphine and all kinds of stuff, and it was just a whirlwind. I mean, they just said, we need to get you immediately to the hospital in Cedars-Sinai and Beverly Hills. We need to get you there immediately. You have to have surgery. Like, it was just so fast, the way everything was happening, that it was so hard for me to absorb. My friend Dave came back into the room. I was crying to him. I'm having a heart attack. He says, I know, it's going to be okay. He's like, I'm going to go with you, whatever. Your girlfriend will be here soon. I called her. So it was just the most nightmarish experience that I've ever had waking, I mean, in my life. I thought, am I going to wake up from this? Am I having a nightmare?
Right.
How could this possibly be me?
Right. After the way I live my life. Exactly.
Yes, that was what I had. And it was just right from there into an ambulance. Ambulance took me right to the hospital. They wheeled me immediately into surgery. And I didn't even know it. When they said surgery, I'm thinking, am I having open heart surgery? Like, I'm like going through my head. I'm like, they're going to cut into my chest? I mean, what's going on here? But thank God that's not what they were doing.
They did angio, right? They did arthroscopy where they went in where they went in with where they punched the holes, like under your armpit and stuff.
They actually punched the hole in my wrist.
Really?
Yeah, they did my wrist. I don't know if this has to do with because I have such big, healthy veins. I don't know if that made it more viable for them.
Yeah.
They prepared my wrist and my groin. They said if they can't do my wrist, they can do my groin. And then I remember saying to the doctor, first of all, I was in utter shock, but I said, why aren't you putting me to sleep? How long is this going to take? Like, I was just in a frenzy. And he says, oh, we're not putting you to sleep.
Yeah, angioplasty is virtually non-invasive. And so did they use a balloon to open the artery back up, and then they would obviously put a stent inside there, right?
They put stents in 2 of my arteries, and I was awake through the whole process. And, obviously it was, I was only calm probably because they probably gave me something to keep me calm.
Yeah. That's the good part. That's the good part.
Yeah,
they give you Ativan. They give you all sorts of good stuff. You're just kind of mellow. Like, oh yeah, you guys are in my heart right now. That's cool.
Yeah, but you know what? I couldn't get away from that, Carl. Like even though I was mellow, I was still saying to myself, this is a nightmare. I'm having a nightmare right now. I can't be laying here on a hospital bed having heart surgery awake. This can't be happening. Like, so it was almost like I was just having this dream and talking to myself the whole time and trying to listen to the doctors too, because they kept on telling me, okay, Eric, take a deep breath. Okay. And I was trying to listen to what they were saying. So, whatever adjustments I had to make or whatever they were doing, whatever they were talking about, because obviously it was the 5 or 6 guys in there doing their surgery.
Had you taken a couple baby aspirins or even a couple full-size aspirins, a lot of your pain would have gone away because it would have thinned your blood out. But then you would have stayed home and thought, it was just like, I don't know, just some phantom pain. Okay, so which arteries were blocked? You said one of them was 90%?
I can't remember exactly.
Did they use the word the Widowmaker? They didn't use that word with you, right?
I don't think they used that word.
Yeah, there's one that guys get and they just die from it. Like they call it the Widowmaker. It's like the major. I forget which major artery it is in the heart, but
I know that one of them. He said one of them was 100%, one of them was 90%, and then there was another one. But they did say to me that a normal person wouldn't have lived through it, and that even the fact that I lived through it for that period of time, it's almost like a miracle. So, obviously I was severe. I mean, they said the heart attack was massive. It was not just like, just a basic heart attack. I mean, if there is a basic heart attack, they said it was massive. So,
well, massive. What massive means is the degree of blood restriction that the heart is getting, and that's because you had one 100% blockage and one 90% blockage. So your heart really was not. But it's interesting. I don't know if you're going to go for follow-up sonograms. But a lot of times when you have this condition for a long period of time and you are a weightlifter, arteries actually start to grow around the blockage. This is an amazing phenomenon. It'd be interesting to see when you go for your follow-up, ask the doctor, was there any arterial collateralization as a result of the blockage? And he'll know what you mean right away. And he'll go, oh, yeah, these two arteries here just popped out of nowhere and grew in over here. This is a phenomenon that happens exclusively to guys like us who train. It doesn't happen to people who sit on the sofa. When an artery starts to become blocked and restricted, the body's very intelligent. It goes, man, that artery isn't really getting enough blood into the heart. It'll actually sprout. It'll actually sprout an artery, the beginning of an artery, like a branch of a tree behind the blockage that will actually, it's the most amazing phenomenon, grow around the blockage and then become part of the artery again. And if you think about that for a second, like, we only see that kind of stuff when neonatal genes are turned on in babies, right? Because they're growing veins and arteries. They're connecting. How do they know? We see this in guys who train, who have over decades, blockages occur, that there's a collateralization. And this is why they're able to get by. Because while the one artery is 90% blocked or 100% blocked, there's this arterial collateralization that occurs that keeps blood to some degree flowing to the heart. So ask when you go back, was there any arterial collateralization around the blockages? I predict, Eric, you're going to email me and go, yes, they said there was. And that's probably the only reason why I was able to get by for as long as I was.
Well, I believe that you're 100% correct. And it is amazing what a machine the human body can be and how it could compensate for something, and overcome something like a blockage like this. And there was mention from the surgeon saying that my heart learned to compensate, obviously, for the blockages, and the compensation is probably exactly what you're talking about, because I have been training at the highest level. I mean, listen, 2 days before the heart attack, I was in the gym killing it,
right?
And not feeling out of breath, not feeling any chest pains, not feeling that there was anything wrong with me. So obviously my heart, adapted to the situation and increased blood flow through what you're speaking of in that way, because otherwise how would I be able to do what I do without collapsing?
Right.
So it makes perfect sense that that's what my heart did. And like you said, it is due to people who exercise, people who train intensely, who eat right, because, our body will learn to adapt so that we can continue to do what we're doing. That's the amazing part.
So let me gather my thoughts here for a second. Okay, so arterial plaque can happen to anyone because of diet and because of hereditary propensity. So what is your nationality?
My nationality? I mean, I'm just basically combination Russian and Hungarian origin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do you eat a lot of fish? Do you eat a lot of red meat? What's your diet look like?
My diet would probably be what the typical bodybuilder's diet would be. There's a lot of protein. I mix up my proteins. Some red meat, nothing crazy, but some red meat, chicken, fish, turkey, egg whites, protein powders. I don't eat a tremendous amount of carbohydrates, but what I do, it's like quinoa, brown rice, whole grain bread, sweet potatoes, those type of things. I eat plenty of vegetables, a lot of green vegetables especially.
Mm-hmm.
I eat a lot of healthy fatty acids, so I eat a lot of walnuts, almonds, cashews, peanuts.
Did you say do you take fish oil supplements, or do you?
Yeah,
you do.
No, I do. I do take fish oil.
Okay, so wait a minute. The Russian side, is there any Ashkenazi Jew in you?
That I can't tell you. That I don't know.
Have you ever had a 23andMe done?
No.
Yeah.
I've never had.
Because you're from Russia, you have Russian heritage. You could have Ashkenazi Jew DNA, and they don't do well with fish oil supplements, and especially fish, they actually have the opposite effect from eating fish and fish oil that the rest of the population does, in that it produces intimal inflammation in the arteries that attracts plaque. They have an allele, and I think it's called, I'm trying to think what it's called, ApoE1 allele. They actually develop plaque from eating fish, and fish oil supplements are no good for them. So
that's news to me.
you need to have a 23andMe done to see what your DNA is. I just had mine done. It was, nothing shocking except I'm 14% Northern African. That was shocking to me. But you need to have that done because genetic predisposition does not mean absolute. There's a lot of women out there who have the BRCA gene, never get breast cancer. So it's your genetics interact with your environment. Now, the diet you describe could not. I don't think there's anybody out there that could go, oh, I see where it's coming from. Oh, you're eating all you're eating all the starchy carbs or things that are pro-inflammatory. It sounds like you don't. So that's why I started thinking, gee, I wonder if you have that ApoE allele that makes fish and fish oil harmful to you. That's the only reason why I thought that, because your diet sounds spotless.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And, and it's possible what you're saying is true. But even with the fish oil, I mean, we're talking about, a capsule or two a day. I don't eat fatty fish. I mean, I tend to eat more lean fish. So I don't know if it could be that. I mean, the doctor did kind of tell me that, and I do have, now that I've experienced this, I've gone back over my family of, I've also had family come to me, and I'm amazed by the amount of heart disease that's been in my family and the amount of people that have had heart attacks and stents put in and things like this. So it really seems to be in my genes. And what I really want to say, just given this opportunity, is that it's possible that I was destined for a heart attack. It's possible that I was on a track for a heart attack my whole life and didn't know. But one of the things I want to get across is that I have been so anti-doctor in my life that I would, I don't know how long it's been since I've gone for just a regular checkup. And I just want people to, I understand there are a lot of people that are like me out there, and I want to encourage them to not be like this anymore, because perhaps if I had been going for checkups, perhaps I've been having blood drawn once a year or something, even though I wasn't showing any symptoms, maybe something would have come up in my checkups or in my blood a long time ago that maybe could have pointed towards me having some, possible risk factors, maybe my cholesterol, something where the doctor would have said, hey, let's check out your heart, let's do this, let's do that.
Right.
And maybe I would have not been in this
No,
position.
you wouldn't have had a heart attack, most likely. You would have taken some sort of preventive measure a decade ago.
Exactly, and that's really one of the reasons why I'm talking about this. I'm not talking about this to have a woe is me story or to gain sympathy or anything like that, because I'm the last person who wants this. I wish it never happened. I don't want to be talking about this. I want to be talking about good stuff. But I want people who are like me and stubborn like me to go to their doctor, especially people in our sport, people who may be using PEDs, large degree of them.
Yeah, and then some of that stuff is over-the-counter pro hormones and stuff like that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, there are people out there who, are, maybe not doing things naturally. Most people don't. But you need to just go out there and get checked and make sure that your health is, in line with what you're doing, because you may look amazing on the outside, but maybe what's going on the inside is not the same. So even if it's once a year or whatever, or, just go get yourself checked out. Don't be stubborn like me, because you don't want to end up in this position. I would have never known in a million years that there was anything wrong with me, but apparently there was something stewing in me, and it could have taken my life. And yes, my lifestyle is what saved my life, for sure. but I probably wouldn't have had to go through this, or there's a good chance I wouldn't have had to go through this at all had I been going to doctors for the last 30 years and just getting checkups.
Right.
So that's one of the messages and one of the reasons why I want to do these interviews and talk about it, because if I can help one person go, you know what, maybe I should start going to the doctor, or you know what, I do use steroids. I use them, I use them reasonably. I cycle them, whatever it is. And I'm not judging anyone. Anybody can do whatever they want, but at least go get checked out and see what's going on in your body so you don't end up with a heart attack.
I want to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I'm going to pick it up on the other side. This is a really, really wonderful story. And I have some questions for Eric about how he feels about life now. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We're talking with Eric Brozer about his recent recovery from a heart attack, a massive heart attack, one that would have killed any mere mortal human. Near-death experiences have an ability to change people. It focuses them, quite frankly. I actually wrote a blog about this not too long ago and talked about it on a recently released episode of Tom Bilyeu's Health Theory. How has it changed you so far? And it may be too soon because the shock is still kind of in front of you, I think. But have you noticed changes about yourself, your outlook right now?
I think that what you said is very pertinent. It is a little too soon in a way, because I'm still, quite honestly, I think that I feel pretty good. In other words, like physically, I feel normal. Like I feel like I felt before I had this happen. I wouldn't have known anything happened. No, I haven't gone back to the gym and started crazy training or anything like that, but I feel normal. I think it's my mind that still needs to adjust to all of this, because there definitely is a shock to all of this. There definitely is, going through what I know were near-death experiences during this. It just has a very profound effect on your mind. There's definitely some depression that comes in and out. There's just, thoughts of, what happens if I did let myself go? Where would I be? It's just a lot. There's so much that goes into it that I'm still dealing with this on an emotional level. And at the same time, just trying to do everything that I need to do to recover physically. So I haven't really looked forward just yet, but I know that there is something that needs to come from this. Maybe these interviews, with you, and I have another one, is the start of it. Maybe it'll propel my life and how I train my clients, or the type of clients that I attract, or the things that I try to do. It might push it in a different direction. So I see these things, but right now I'm just trying to focus on recovery and appreciation for, first of all, let me say I want to give a huge thank you is really too small of words to say to my guardian angels. Kim Bridges is my girlfriend, and Dave Borlay, who, if it was not for these two people, I would not be here, because, Kim is the one who made my girlfriend, didn't listen to me when I was saying, don't bother my friend Dave, don't worry about it, I'll be okay. She loves me so much, she made sure to call him and get him over here, and Dave stopped whatever he was doing and came over and took me to the hospital, and he picked me up from the hospital and stayed with me for the whole day. So these two people are my guardian angels. They saved my life. So I'm right now just trying to be appreciative about, having my dogs next to me, who are sitting next to me during this interview, for, being able to still think about going to the gym, to be able to still have my clients and do my work and try to affect people positively, to knowing how much my family loves me, who my mom and dad, from Florida, got right on a plane, came out here and stayed here for, a week to 10 days, making sure I was okay. So, these things is what I'm going through. But I know that it's going to have a profound effect on my life going forward. I just don't know what path I'm going to take yet. Right now, I'm just trying to, in the moment, deal with all of this emotion and everything that's overcome me, and try to turn this negative into a positive.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's the a goal to turn a negative into a positive, but quite often these types of experiences can crystallize meaning in a person's life. For me, so I haven't had a near-death experience per se, but I watched my father die, and when I saw him in that bed, I saw myself in that bed, and all of a sudden my own mortality became very apparent to me. I've told this story on the show before, so people have heard it. And that crystallized things in my mind that had more meaning to me, that I started to look at things as the things that were really important, the things that if I was in that bed and this was it, the things I'd really regret not have done. And they really are easy things. It's not like, it wasn't like, oh, a Lamborghini. See, I've actually meditated on my own death numerous times now. I've sat there and I've thought about it. It's kind of a depressing thing to talk about, people think, but it's not. It's actually very freeing. You know, I recognize that my death is going to come at a very inconvenient time because no one dies conveniently. It's not like, hey, Wednesday at 3:00 would be good. I got nothing to do, so let me go then. So most likely I'll die at a very inconvenient time. I'll die at a time where maybe I didn't get a lot of things done that I was working on at the time. And so then I started to think, what's the really important stuff that I got to get done before I die? And I wrote a blog about it. Mark Twain was born on Halley's Comet passing over the Earth, and he died, 70-something years later exactly on Halley's Comet passing, and he predicted he would die when Halley's Comet returned. So he lived his life knowing, at least for himself, believing that he knew when he was going to die. And that made him do things perhaps that other people wouldn't have done because they would have been concerned about what the people would think of them and all that. So he was like, I know when I'm going to die. I got to get all this stuff done now. So I think near-death experiences or contemplative thought about your own death has the ability to produce greater focus for a person. And I'm going to make a prediction that your best is yet to come, and it may not even be in physical culture. It may not. I mean, I'm not predicting this, but I'm just saying, like, you may decide, all that time I'm spending in the gym, I need to be out there in the world. I think my new physical culture is I want to travel and hike beautiful mountains. I don't know, but I'm saying I have a feeling that when the shock wears off, when the disbelief wears off, when you become comfortable with how close you got to that precipice, and you realize that you're still here, I have a funny feeling that there's going to be a metamorphosis in you that is going to even surprise you. That's my prediction. And
I don't disagree with you. I think that that is to come, and I don't know that's why I said I don't know what direction this is going to take me. I do know. One thing I do know is that I'm a firm believer that I was, if there's such thing as having a purpose in life, and, I don't know if that's the way it works, that people are put here for a purpose, but if I do have a purpose, I've been pretty much known for a very long time that my purpose is to help other people. I know that in whatever expertise I have, and it's become, in transforming physiques. So I know that I'm here to help people reach their goals in physical fitness, whether it be to just, get to a certain weight, get to a certain level of body fat, muscle mass, or whether to win the biggest titles in whatever it is. I know that's part of what I'm supposed to do, and I know that what comes with it is not only just getting for people from point A to B, but also making friendships with these people, helping them out with problems, becoming their friend. And, I get very close to my clients. And I know that that's the reason why I'm here, because it just comes very naturally to me to always try to help people in any situation. So I think that maybe, I may be not that I won't be as focused on helping people reach their physical goals in terms of cosmetically, But I think that my direction might also be to, help people even more so with their health, and go in another direction. But I do believe that there's going to come, like you said, maybe an appreciation for doing other things, or maybe moving outside the box that I've been living in. Not necessarily leaving behind bodybuilding, but maybe like you said, visiting different places, or maybe just enjoying the moment. I'm definitely a forward thinker, so I'm always thinking about the future, and sometimes I don't sit in the moment and enjoy the moment.
Right.
So that maybe that as well, enjoying just sitting, outside. I live in California. I live in Marina Del Rey, beautiful area. Maybe walking outside and looking at the ocean and looking at the boats, instead of taking it for granted, sitting there really looking and say, this really is beautiful. I'm really lucky. So it could be anything little like that. I don't know what's to come, but I do agree with you that this is going to have a shift, cause a shift in my life in some way, shape, or form as soon as I'm able to get through this initial period, and reflect on it, and not, just, sit in the negative portion of it and realize where I go from here. So I do see that coming, and I do hope that the best is yet to come. I hope that's why I pulled myself out of it.
Right.
Because I feel like I have more to do.
Right. Right. I think it's wonderful. We can leave here. I want you to. I do agree with you about doctor's visits. I mean, I have a annual physical that comes with blood work and all that sort of stuff. I would think it would be reckless not to, but I'm starting to think I may want to get a calcium, coronary calcium scan done now because of what you said, to detect any potential plaque that could be building up. I'm 60 years old now. You know what I mean? So how old are you now?
I'm actually going to be turning 50 in October.
Okay, so you and I, we're 10. When's your birthday? October what?
Actually, it's Halloween.
What is that? 13th? The 31st. Okay.
31st.
So, I mean, you're 10 years younger than me. We're at that age now where there's bioaccumulation of stuff. So I think I'm going to get a coronary calcium scan now because of this interview.
Well, good.
Yeah, because there are things that can be done. Are you on blood thinners right now?
Yeah, I'm on 4 different medications right now. One of them is a blood thinner. I'm not going to have to take that forever, but they have me on that for like the first 6 months to a year. Right.
Get out in the sun as much as possible. I did a blog post many years ago. There is a study out there that showed that melanotan 2, which people take for tanning, actually causes the body to reabsorb arterial plaque. And the takeaway isn't necessarily to take melanotan 2 unless you live in a place where there's no sun. You can resort to that. But the takeaway is that people that live closer to the equator have fewer heart attacks. And it's probably because I feel very sure that it's because they get out in the sun. They get sun exposure. The sun reduces plaque buildup. The melanocortin system, and activating it, activates 5 different receptors in the body, 3 of which are exclusive to the intima of arteries. The intima is what becomes inflamed and attracts plaque. So when you reduce inflammation inside the artery, there's nothing for the plaque to stick to, or the body doesn't call for the plaque. Let's put it that way. So get out in the sun as often as possible. Get in the sun every single day. Maybe you do now. I don't know. But I'm saying that's one thing that you should absolutely make sure that you do every single day is get out in the sun, even if it's for a half hour. You've got a great physique. Take your shirt off. Walk down Venice Beach maybe. But the sun is really your friend right now.
Well, thank goodness I live in California because I've always had plenty of sun. So
yes.
I am going to definitely, I obviously am out in the sun quite a bit only just because I live here, but I could definitely make it a point. I'm willing to take every precaution possible now
to
make sure this doesn't happen again. So if getting out in the sun for an extra half an hour a day can help, I will do it.
You know what? I'm glad you're well. You're a wonderful guy. I hate that as soon as people heard about your heart attack, they come right out. No, drugs. I have a friend in Greece, Dr. George Touliatos. He's a wonderful person. He messaged me about 3 weeks ago and said, Another bodybuilder died of cancer. This is the fourth or seventh one in X amount of years. And I said, and he was only 43. I said, people at 43 die of cancer all the time. Why is it bodybuilders? Why? Oh, because of the drugs. It's, everybody wants to blame. Nobody looks at the slothful, slow-moving, crap-eating person who gets cancer, 3 times in their lifetime and goes, oh, it's drugs. No, it's the lifestyle, it's the genetics, it's the diet, it's all these different things. But as soon as they hear about a bodybuilder who kind of falls from grace with any kind of physical ailment, they immediately go like right to the gutter. Oh, he's got to be doing drugs. And it's just it's insulting. It's sad. Healthy people die. Everybody dies. It doesn't matter what you do. None of us get out of here alive. So, I'm glad you're well, and I can't wait to see what's next for you. I really can't.
Well, Carl, I really appreciate that you reached out to me and that you wanted to bring me on the show. I'm very glad to be back on the show again. And maybe we could do this again in a few months from now to see where I am.
Sure. Plug some of your sponsors, too. I know you have quite a few sponsors. Plug them.
Well, I am a member of Team Allmax, so Allmax Nutrition is, one of my biggest sponsors, a tremendous nutrition company, amazing supplements, wonderful products. Been with them for almost 2 years now, a fantastic company. I just started working as an ambassador for GASP clothing, GASP official.
I love their shirts. They've got great T-shirts, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was wearing their clothes for several years before they ever contacted me and asked me to become an ambassador. So, I'm really, really glad to be working with them because I truly love their stuff. So those are two of the the main companies that I work with, and I've worked with a lot of great companies over the years. I also still write for Flex Magazine, which now is actually part of Muscle and Fitness Magazine.
Wow.
So I'm writing for them. I'm also writing for muscleandfitness.com. So I'm still writing articles for both of those and have new ones coming out pretty much every month. And those are the sponsors that I have. And, of course, I'm continuing to expand my business with my clients, training people all over the world and who have also been so supportive of me. And I'm looking to expand my business even further to help even more people. And that's why I'm coming out with that special tomorrow, which I'll put up on Facebook and Instagram. Just want to help as many people as I can reach their dreams and goals while they are here and hopefully help them do it in the healthiest way possible. And I just want to continue to spread my word on the various training programs that I've developed over the years and just help people reach their goals faster, healthier, more efficiently, and that's why I'm here. So
I'm gonna channel your mom. Why don't you get married? What are you waiting for?
Well, that's a great. You know what? That's a great question. It's a great question that you're asking me.
Sounds like you got a girl who cares about you.
I have a great answer, and she'll be very glad to hear this. I finally met the girl that earlier this year. She actually was a client first. Then we formed into a relationship. Her name is Kim. Absolutely one of the best people I've ever met in my life. Absolutely adore her. She will be my wife.
Dude, I think you just proposed live on the air.
She will be my wife. We have a little red tape to get through before we can get there.
Sure.
But,
wonderful.
She definitely is my guardian angel. I've always called her Angel. Now I know why. So that should be taken care of.
There you go.
In the future.
There you go. All right, look, much love, much luck. We'll talk soon, okay?
Okay, Carl. Take care. Thank you so much.
Take care, Eric. Okay. All right, I'm going to take one quick commercial break. When we come back, I want to follow up with some other things about heart attacks, like things you can do immediately after a heart attack that could actually prolong your life. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. All right, this won't take long, okay? Obviously, we all know about aspirin. If you think you're having a heart attack, take a whole aspirin. Don't take a baby aspirin. New research on taking baby aspirin every single day, even the enterically coated one, is not good. Not good. There are better ways to thin your blood. Fish oil, assuming you don't have the APOE allele, ginger extract, vitamin E. There's lots of things that'll thin the blood. Making sure that you have enough salt in your diet so that it pulls more water into your blood, and your blood is thinner instead of thicker. All these things, all these things can help during a heart attack. But the new research shows that taking a daily 81 milligram enterically coated aspirin actually leads to a lot more bleeding out events. We're talking about aneurysms and stuff like that. That's not good. Now, aneurysms are a result of a breakdown in the dexterity and strength of blood vessels. And when you train heavy, you do heavy resistance training, progressive resistance training, your blood vessels get stronger to respond to the Valsalva, to the pressure. But people who sit on the sofa all day, their blood vessels become weak, and they get bubbles in them that blow out, and they bleed out. And apparently, the bleed out is a lot worse for them when they're on that daily aspirin routine. So I don't think the daily aspirin routine is a good idea for blood thinning. I think there are better alternatives for blood thinning. But obviously, if you think you're having a heart attack, if you think you're having a heart attack, like before you call the ambulance, throw 1 or 2 full-size aspirins down your throat. They'll hit you fast. They'll thin your blood. They'll protect your heart so that when the ambulance gets there, they can manage you, triage you, and get you to the hospital. The other thing that can benefit your heart are a couple peptides that have been shown when given hours after a heart attack to not only protect the heart during the heart attack, but improve recovery and leave less collateral damage after the heart attack. And that is thymosin beta-4 and good old-fashioned GHRP6. Many of us use GHRP6 as a dual peptide therapy. GHRP6 and growth-releasing factor 1 through 29 in combination cause a very strong pulse of growth hormone. And GHRP6 also increases appetite. For people who don't have an appetite, doctors should be giving them that. But GHRP6 during a heart attack has been shown to protect the heart. It could be an upregulation of growth factors. It could be direct. I don't remember it. Dr. John Chrysler and I talked about it years ago, but there are a couple good studies out there. So having those peptides in your freezer. I keep at least 1 2-milligram vial of thymosin beta-4 in my freezer at all times. I'm 60 years old. I've instructed Elisa, if I have a heart attack, I want a shot of that before the ambulance takes me away. So that's another important factor. And then if getting out in the sun isn't practical because you're like me, it's getting gloomy out now, just 25 micrograms of melanotan 2. You'll get a little tan from it. You won't get crazy tan, but just 25 micrograms a day could be the differentiating factor of you developing plaque or not developing plaque. If someone would look, my prediction is that plaques build up the greatest degree in the cold weather because people are indoors and they're not getting to the sun. I'll bet money on it. I really will. The research on sun exposure and plaque is undeniable. And it's not from vitamin D. It's from stimulating the melanocortin system. So I would say that instead of using baby aspirin every single day, use 25 micrograms of melanotan 2. Enjoy having a little bit of a tan all winter long. People will think that you're rich and you're vacationing all the time. But the benefits to your arteries are profound. And then, of course, doing things that help improve or reduce, increase the viscosity of blood, that thin the blood. And that is making sure you're getting adequate amounts of salt in your diet, fish oil, even vinegar. Having salads with vinegar. Vinegar thins the blood. There's a lot of good things that thin the blood. You don't need to turn to medications that then have a prothrombotic effect where you start to, bleed out. Or an antithrombotic. Let me think about that. Antithrombotic effect. But they because they make the blood too thin. They make the blood actually so thin that it can actually start to permeate membranes. We see this. That's why people who are on warfarin and Coumadin, they have to go into the doctor every so often for what's known as a prothrombin test to make sure their blood isn't getting too thin. Because if it gets too thin, it actually starts to seep through membranes. You start to bleed out in your stomach. That's how they kill rodents with Coumadin. Coumadin is actually the same stuff that they use in rat poison. And so rats eat a belly full of it, and it gets into their blood, and it makes their blood so thin, the blood literally seeps through the lining of the stomach, and they bleed out. So there are a lot better ways to thin the blood, in my humble opinion, than using those types of drugs or using daily aspirin. But yeah, aspirin immediately, thymosin beta-4 immediately, and some GHRP6 immediately before the ambulance whisks you away will put you in a much better position to recover faster and survive your heart attack. So there you go. There's some information you won't get on anybody else's show. And that's it. Today's Thursday. We won't have another show till Monday. We'll see you then. Thank you for listening. Oh, by the way, my interview on health theory with Tom Bilyeu drops today, Thursday, the 27th. I already saw it. I don't like the way my face looks. The side shot, when I was 330 pounds, I had a lot of stretched out skin and I had a lot of fat in my face. So now I have this turkey neck that hangs, which I hate. And I guess someday maybe I can have surgery to remove it. But I think you'll find the interview interesting and entertaining. Tom asked some really amazing questions, very thoughtful questions. I had a lot of fun doing his show. So if you could check that out, Health Theory, it's up on YouTube, and make a comment. Just don't make any comments about my turkey neck. I already know about that. But make a comment if you think I did a good job. I appreciate that. All right, we'll see everybody next week with more Superhuman Radio. Thank you for listening today.